Wrote the book of love.
Welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf with your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein. Steve the Bookman Eisenstein has been involved in buying, selling, and appraisals of rare books since 1968. This show has been designed with making money for the listeners in mind. More people know the value of coins, stamps, objects of art, and collectibles they do not own than the values of the books in their home library shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Good morning, my fellow rare bookians, and welcome to today's edition of Bucks on the Bookshelf. I'm your host, Steve the Bookman Eisenstein, and you are listening to us live on the WDBF radio networks. Got questions? We have a call-in number. Take out something to write with. Take out something to write on. Look me in the eye. You will call. You will call. We're on camera today, so I hope that one translates to humor. Take out something to write with and copy down this number, 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. Based on the 71 new members that joined Vintage Rare and Antique Books today, I would tell you... okay. I would tell you a lot of you, at least a 30 around there, have questions that we can answer today. That if you call the show at 888-575-4394, not only will you get the answers, but if you call somebody in your local area, especially if you're in a metropolitan area, you're going to get charged for it down the road. That's called an appraisal. We give out free evaluations all the time on this show. I've been doing it for years. Our show record is $50,000 for a set of books, and it's like the show's 10 years old and the record was set about 8 years ago. It's boring by now. Come on, somebody, find something rare and wonderful and tell us about it. So the other thing is this. I am finding out if you are using a cell phone for some reason and you try to call the show, 888-575-4394, if for some reason you get a busy signal, don't use the 1. So I suggest, depending on where you are, who your phone service is and such things, use the 1 or don't use the 1. And, you know, if you're calling the show, we really thank you. We have a rather adventurous, I would say, show today. My guests today are both well-known in the wonderful world of rare books. Joachim Koch of BooksTellYouWhy.com is going to join us at 10:26. Joachim and I have been booth. Okay. Joachim and I have been booth fair buddies, sharing booths next door to each other at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair. That's the FABA show. Joachim is in the process of selling his well-established online rare book business. Now, if you are new and, you're looking to open a store, if you're going at it for a while and you said, wow, I wish I had inventory and all that, Joachim has that, 20,000 books. But buying the right books can be a task, and building up inventory can be a task. It can be done if you have enough fundage very easily, but not only if you would buy this business, there's an advantage to it that may not always come when one buys a bookstore, and that's the client list. Joachim's client list, I'm not going to, tell you the personal names and things like this, but, if you buy the store, if you buy any store, make sure that you get the client list. The inventory is wonderful. And this is not a store. This is an online book business that is ready to go. turnkey. Joachim will tell you more about that and how he started in the book business, and he is definitely the consummate bookman, so there's a lot to learn from. And if you're interested in starting up your own business, well, we're going to tell you how he started, and if you're looking to buy a business, we got one for you. I guess it would be turnkey business would be the thing, except he doesn't have a store. But that client list, you always hear me say this consistently. You are your client list, and that's hard to establish a good client list. I will share a lot of things with people that a lot of dealers won't share. Maybe to my detriment sometimes, but I prefer being a good guy. um, Client lists are very private things. If somebody has a book that a client of mine might want, depending on who and who, I may introduce them directly, or I just might say, okay, I'll tell my client you have it. Your client list is your strength, and it takes a long time to build that up. One of the things I can suggest is discussing tips at all times for beginners is if you go to an antiquarian book fair in your area, you'll come home with a client list. You'll meet people on the floor, you'll meet the exhibitors at the show, and, client list is important. So it's summertime. How's the book selling for you? How's your summer sales going? A funny thought, if you live in a tourist town, you should be doing really well because that's where everybody goes. There's the old summertime slow down blues when 25% of your area leaves for vacation. But if you live in a tourist town, you're getting more than the 25%. So shout out to everybody in tourist towns with bookstores. I had one. It's great to have a store across the street from the ocean, unless there's a hurricane. Yeah, my store's across the street from the ocean. Hopefully, there's never a hurricane. So if you have valuation or other questions, we invite you to call the show, and all you have to do is dial, and the number is 888-575-4394, Beechwood 45789. We're about to hit 56,000 members in vintage, rare, and antique books. So I want to give a very special shout out to several people in one group, and that's my co-administrators. We are, like I said, we're about to hit 56,000. So without a doubt, a site like that, a Facebook group like that, could not be run by yours truly. I am so happy with the administrative team in this group that we've put together. Sophia of SaveYourBooks.com. If you need anything and everything in the way of repairing books, learning how to repair books and such, Sophia SaveYourBooks.com. Jenny and Patrick Hamsma are Patrick'sRareBooks.com. Patrick, as you know, specializes in medical theology and other antiquarian rarities. And Jenny is into the arts. That's Patrick'sRareBooks.com. Todd Summerfield is a miniature book dealer, a publisher of miniature books, and just an all-round good guy. Todd Summerfield is booksbpress.com. And here's a really novel thing. Almost everybody knows somebody that is publishing a book, had a book published, or things like that. If you are looking for a gift to give to the person that has everything, or more so, a gift to the person that just had their own book published, had their book published, go to Todd and ask him to make a miniature version of that book. I mean, I think that is like, the coolest thing since chocolate and marshmallow are put together. You have a book and you have a miniature book version of your book. It's just a great combination. Eddie Nix is driftlessbooks.com. Eddie has should be mentioned in Guinness's World Record book for having moved probably more bookstores than anyone else in the world, 15 going on 16, and he hasn't heard about Joachim yet, so who knows, you know. James D. Keyline, that would be stradermeyer.org on James. James is an expert in numerous fields in the rare book world, but his strength and what he writes about most is in the children's series books. And there is a lot in that area. John Hubbard Grace is also one of our administrators, a really good guy, has a general book business. Zach Wood is our latest member. He's been on board for a while, but he's been in the business for a very long time. I compare Zach Wood to James Bond backstage because Zach is our security guy, and you all know I still spell computer with a K. Yes, I make fun of it and all that, and eventually I'll get a tutor again. But Zach, when it comes down to scams and scammers, man, this guy's Bruce Lee. This guy is Bruce Lee. That's the bottom line. You know, I am so happy that we have somebody like Zach in our group that keeps us safe from scammers and such. I mean, every once in a while something gets through, but you know, kudos to you and to your other administrators in your group about scammers and the other things you do. Zach, I salute you on that one. Looking at the clock there. I'm not clock watching, but I need to know the time. Love you, honey. We haven't done this in a while. So what is this? I'm not telling. You got to figure it out. We're going to start doing this again, and that's a vocabulary segment. Maybe we're going to start it from now on. A good place is in the beginning of the show. So we're going to do 5 book words of the day in a couple of minutes. So if you're new, take out something to write with, take out something to write on, and take some notes, okay? I suggest you increase your rare book vocabulary as fast as possible. Learn 5 new words a day on your own. How can you do that? Well, get a reference book called The ABCs of Book Collecting. You can get an old one that's not illustrated. You can get some of the new ones that are. John Berger is one. John Carter is one ABC on book collecting book, and Berger is the other ABC on book collecting book. Both of their newer editions are illustrated, so you've got the pictures and the words. You are your vocabulary in this business. And why do I say this? Book buyers, book sellers, especially the ones that you want looking at your inventory with deep pockets and money to burn and buy your books, they're used to seeing descriptions in a certain format, certain types of terminology, word flow, you know, things like that. One of the things you should never do is, like in Etsy, I've been at this 57 years. I've only been online for 10. So 10 years ago, when I was looking at some of the descriptions that people were using in Etsy, it made sense that they were using it because it was a flowery, artsy kind of thing. And, you know, for a while, I don't know if it does well anymore today. It's constantly evolving and changing. But I saw descriptions of books that, while they might have been flowery and Shakespearean, they weren't the kind of wording that you would use to sell a book. It was distracting in actuality. So booksellers, buyers are used to seeing this information presented in a certain format. And this format has been used ever since the beginning of book listing. And vary from it at your own peril, I guess, would be the wording. Before we get into some of the vocabulary words that you would use when you use this format, let me tell you what the format is. Don't vary from it. the first thing you want to do when you're describing a book is you list the author. Back in the pre-computer days, it was alphabetical, so it was the author's last name, first name, excuse me. What is it? 26-year-old mug. um, Florida Book Fair mug. So you want to start out with the author's first name and last name. The title of the book. Now, here's another thing. If you have a book that has a long subtitle, you can use it. You know, you don't necessarily have to. But I'll tell you what, if you call up this show and you read the subtitle, I'm going to hang up on you. Okay, I hate being read subtitles. It's just a pet peeve. But you start out with one, the author, two, the title, then what comes next? The city of publication. What city was the book published in? So you're looking at the title page. 99% of this information, if not 100%, is usually going to be found on the title page or the verso. Here's an extra vocabulary word. The verso of a page is obviously the rear side. So you're looking at the front of the title page, and on that title page, you see from left to right, London, Paris, New York, Rome, Antarctica, just like on my business card, not. And the first city to the left, London. If you see it vertical, it's the first city on top. So you're going to start out with the author, you're going to put the title in, and then you're going to list the city of publication. What comes next? Again, all of this is on the title page. You're looking for the year of publication. The year of publication could possibly be in two places or one place. Where you see it on the title page, let's say it says Macmillan and it was published in 1946 on the front of the title page, on the front bottom of the title page. If you turn that title page over to the verso and in the copyright statement you see this book was published in 1938. It means that you don't have the first edition. It means the first edition was the earlier year that it was published. So 1938 is not the year you would use. You would list the 1946 year as the year. If both years are the same, then you're okay. Sometimes going back into the 19th century, you'll see this paragraph that says, entered into the Act of Congress in the year of our Lord, 1850, whatever. As long as that 1850 matches the year on the title page, you're good. So after the year, you want the edition. Now, there's where you can get in trouble. It might say first edition, but just because it does doesn't mean it is. But you want to list what edition it is. And you also want to list if it's a limited edition and what type of limited edition. Like this is copy number 286 of 300 copies. This is an unnumbered copy, which would say, this book is limited to 1,000 copies and there's no number, all kinds of things like that. The next thing you want to list after that is the publisher's name. And the next thing after that is the condition of the book. Condition is an art form. You have to be able to describe it properly and accurately. You don't want to make it sound like it's a piece of crap, but you also don't want to over-describe it. My personal standpoint on condition, always surprise them. Be a conservative grader. And when they get the book, they're going to say, wow, that guy said it was just in good condition, but it's really in very good condition. So be a conservative grader. Looking at the time, and we got about 60 seconds left in this segment. So I'm just going to ramble out a couple of vocabulary words. TEG. You also want to learn their abbreviations. In the old days, we used to have to pay $1.86 a line with 36 characters or whatever it is. So we wanted to always use the abbreviations. TEG, AEG. Top edge gilt, AEG. All edges gilt. That simply means your book is gilt around the edges. By the way, in the Children's Scribner's series and some of the other ones from the 1920s and so, if the top edge of your book is gilt, and it's in the original binding, especially the Scribner's, it means you have the first edition. Words like quarto, octavo, duodecimo are size descriptions. FEP is the front end paper, FFEP is the front free end paper, and we got to hit a break. We'll be back with Joachim after these commercial words.
Prairie shelves. Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Hey, this is the first time the cat's on television. Welcome back, everybody. We are, just so you understand what I just said, we are filming the studio sessions with Joachim, Jerry, myself, and Captain Hook today. And Tiger, too, if you can see him under my hand there. He's joining us. And it will be loaded to YouTube when it's loaded on the WDBF radio platform on YouTube. So without further ado and without a drum roll, no green room, and I'm sorry we couldn't get you transportation to the studio today, Joachim, but Joachim Koch of BooksTellYouWhy.com, welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be on the show. Thank you for having us.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, and more so, you've been a booth neighbor at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair for many years, and I would be astray of myself if I did not ask you this question before I ask you how you got started in the book business. How did you come up with the name Books Tell You Why? I love it. What was the thought process that came up with that name?
There's a whole bunch of different data points in different directions where it comes from. There's a genuine curiosity in terms of getting lost in books and finding new things that you never knew. But then one of the triggers was actually the toy store, Toys R Us. So I was looking for a name, and I didn't want it to be Joachim's Bookstore or any one of those things. So I wanted to have a name that is separate from the person, from the family. So, and again, a whole bunch of things came together. Toys R Us, Books Tell You Why, and we all said, that's the way we want to call it.
I got to tell you something. We have a spiritual harmony on that Toys R Us thing. Years ago, unfortunately, my sister died. I was taking care of my nephews, and what did I do? That's when I started, really full-time into the rare book business, and that was when I also did our first estate sale. But in Long Island, back then, they were called tag sales. So I had a beautiful card, black and gilt, Tags Are Us. I salute you for your creative sources there. That's funny that we both thought about the same toy store for a name. So continue on. Now that we know how the name came in, very clever. What got you started in the wonderful world of rare books? How'd that journey begin?
Well, it was always again, as I had mentioned, the curiosity, the finding something in books. We were gifting books as Christmas gifts, as memories of joint experiences. So at some point, we looked into making something more out of this. And a very funny, a little bit sad story, but very funny. We started this in October in 22. So almost 23 years ago. So, and what happened, the purpose was to get a gift for a friend of ours, and we bought. Some will wrinkle their foreheads and said, well, that's not really a collectible book. But anyway, we got from Easton Press a signed Stephen Ambrose Band of Brothers. And we bought this in early October 2002. And turns out the person who we wanted to gift it to actually had that book already. And so, well, here was the book. It was still in the original shrink wrap. And I thought, well, let's see if we can sell this book. And we put it on AbeBooks. What happened was, and I had no idea, it disappeared and it sold in like an hour of us listing us. Why was it? Well, Stephen Ambrose passed away October 13th. And so there was this this event. Stephen Ambrose, obviously a famous historian and academic, that made the book valuable, or made the book, put the book in demand because he passed away, right? And so, funnily enough, the first customer we had was a teacher in Hong Kong, and we had to scramble to fill that AbeBooks order and get the shipment going to Hong Kong. We had no idea at the time, but that was the first book sale that we did way back when. We didn't have a website, and it was on AbeBooks.
That must have been sticker shock for mailing it even back then to Japan. What happened after that? Okay, so you found this. That was the first book you ever listed and sold. How did it grow from there? What you sold it. Obviously, you sold it at a profit. Was it a substantial profit? I mean, what did you pay? Just out of curiosity, what was not the number so much, but the ratio? What'd you pay for it, and what'd you sell it for?
So the book, I don't know the exact numbers, but I want to say we bought it for order of magnitude $80. It might have been 85 or 90.
Okay.
And it was brand new, came in the original box and everything. So nothing really to do with a rare or antiquarian.
No, understood. Collectible.
Got to make a little bit of money, and we just doubled the price. I mean, when you look into AbeBooks right now, you would probably find it for much more, or any of the other listing websites. So obviously, again, I didn't know, just here's the price. And as I said, because of Stephen Ambrose passing away, basically the same moment we list the book, coincidental as it gets, that triggered the book sale. And so it was more of the same. I mean, not that spectacular after that. We bought books we liked.
How did that happen?
And then,
in other words,
go ahead,
you sold the book. Now you're saying, hey, there's money to be made. How do I find more books? What was you had no, I'm asking this, you had no knowledge at that point of the book business or the vocabulary, I am presuming. Is that correct?
I had a passion, but no knowledge about the specifics.
So
what are the formats and everything? Yes.
So so you sold this book and you said to yourself, wow, there's money could be made here if I could find more books. What was your process, the initial book buying? How did you teach yourself? Did you have tutors, mentors? I mean, and I've been at it twice as long as you have, but you have done a phenomenal, I mean, you've really done a phenomenal job in collecting the inventory, putting it together, acquiring it, selling it, building up a phenomenal client list. What was it like in the very beginning? Where was your first big buy? Were you buying them one at a time? Were you going to estate sales? Did you start advertising?
We basically bought books we liked. Books we liked, books we would have kept, books we were passionate about. The initial drive was less to be a bookseller. It was more to have a bookstore with books in the store, books we liked, books we were proud of, books those were children's books, LOEs, when the kids grew up. Those type of things, Caldecott winning books, Newbery winning books, right? Where you say, If it ever doesn't sell, who cares? We have a book that we cherish, a book that we would like to have and are proud of having it on the shelf. That was the main driver. And again, it turned out as we began to learn about the business, as we learned how to catalog, as we learned how to describe what makes the book description work, well, then over time sales begin to set in. But we were focusing the initial years, and this was self-studied before we became members of the ABAA and others. This was, you roll up your sleeves, you read books, you study about things you like to study, right? Those type of things, those were the early days of the book business.
So here it is. We are 25 years later. Let's talk. There's a lot we can fill in the middle of other things, but let's bring it up to date. You're in the process of wanting to sell the book business. That's one of, that's a decision that we all come to eventually, to continue or not to continue. So describe to the audience as if it was, the potential buyer, which I hope is a result that if you don't have one already that's in the wings, I hope is a result of being on the show today and it being rebroadcast overseas and, around the country and the world, that it might come to somebody's attention and you get a buyer for it. Describe what they would be buying, the inventory, the client list, and the efforts that you have made to build all that and now offer it.
So I hope you don't cut me off after 2-3 hours, that I can give you the full story.
Here you go, buddy. I'm taking it. The mic is all yours.
So, I mean, more than describing, here is the book business, right? I could go on and on about how do you operate a business? How do you run a business? We, as an example, Steve, and there's so many different ways of running a successful book business. You can have a storefront. We never had that. We were online only from day one on, right? You can sell like the Palm Harrington, Peter Harrington. You can sell the super high-end books for not too many books are in the 3-digit range, Bauman Rare books, famous booksellers. You can make a living with that. You can be a super successful local used bookseller, right? There's a multitude of different ways to doing it right. And we've been mainly focusing on the online business. And online bookselling is different from what I would call online book listing. If I'm putting up my books, that's how we started, and that's how most start. If you're starting out, many would start out with listing on books, on Amazon, on Biblio, on eBay. But that's not really book selling. That's book listing, right?
I like that.
Over time, Steve?
No, I said I like that. I like that definition.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what you want to do if you really don't want to depend on, well, what if Amazon delists me? What if eBay throws me out because of whatever reason? At some point, you want to build up your book business, right? So we set up a site, a Bibliopolis, a very well-known website builder in the industry, built it. And you can see it. It's on bookstellyouwhy.com. And there's currently about 19,000 books out there. But even then, you have the books out there. How do you get visitors, potential buyers to the site, right? This is not a build it and they will come. So there's the usual culprits. You can pay a boatload of money to Google. You can do a variety of things. What we've done very early on is attracting potential customers by educating them and running a very active blog. So here we have 2,000 plus blog posts that we created over the 20-some years. And you can study how you do marketing, you can study how you attract people to the website. That is a very well-known approach to attracting people to the website.
I gotta cut you off for a second. We have to hit a break. Stay with us. And Jeremy, where are you? Okay, stay with us. We will be back.
Now, here's Steve the Bookman Eisenstein.
Welcome back, my fellow Rare Bookians. We are talking with Joachim Koch of BooksTellYouWhy.com. BooksTellYouWhy.com is a very established, well-known, well-respected book business online. And if you have questions for myself, for Joachim, or anything about what we're talking about with Joachim now, or any kind of valuation questions, anything like that, we'd love to hear from you. Copy down this number for live on air Saturday from 10 to 12 contact. All you got to do is dial, and the number is 888-575-4394. That's 888-575-4394. And if you're listening to us on replay, just for everybody's information, the show is replayed today from 4 to 6 p.m. It's replayed tomorrow from 8 to 10 a.m. and 3 to 5 p.m. and Monday from 1 to 3 a.m. And all of that is Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to contact me personally off air, I'm going to give you a landline number to do that with, 305-868-5515, 305-868-5515. Joachim, before we pick up from what our previous segment discussions were, how can people reach you off air, either to buy books while you still have the online business, or to actually buy the store and go from there and talk more about what you are offering for sale in this package? And let me just say, it's an instantaneous shot. If you are looking to open up an established book business, Joachim has done the hardest part. Not that the whole project isn't hard to do, but the most important part is you're going to have an instantaneous, very respectable client list. Take it away from there.
Yeah, let me answer the question in terms of how do you reach us off air. Obviously, for regular book purchases, you can go to the website www.bookstellyouwhy.com. If you are interested in learning more about going beyond what we'll talk about, the book business itself, and if you have potential interest in starting up with it, we have two things. One is you can reach us, Jeremy, by emailing to start, START, at bookstellyouwhy.com. That's how you get started, start at bookstellyouwhy.com. Or you can reach me on my mobile phone, 647-242-7092. We'll repeat that towards the end of the show, but that's a quick way to get us offline. And as much as Steve lets us talk about the specifics over the next couple of minutes, we'll cover as much as we possibly can as well.
And I see Jeremy is with us, so let's bring him in for a couple of minutes here. Jeremy Rydell, welcome to Bucks on the Bookshelf, and more so. Salutations and thank you for I mean, we knew each other, but for putting this show together, it was Jeremy's idea, and obviously it was a very good one. So welcome. And Jeremy, introduce yourself to the audience before, as Joachim will come back on and talk about the store and what is involved in, the potential purchase of it. But what's your background for the audience in rare books? What got you started?
Sure. Well, thank you, Stephen, and it's good to
Pleasure.
see you again, Joachim. And I mean, my only background in rare books is as an employee for Books Tell You Why. I met Joachim 15 to 20 years ago. Don't remember exactly when. It's been a while, and I think I believe I was his first hire outside of him and his family members. And I mostly helped him with cataloging, but I was there at many book fairs, and he sent me to Rare Book School a few times, and I really enjoyed it so much. And the only reason why I got out of it was because I ended up moving and relocating.
So I say this tongue in cheek. What do you do in real life? I mean, I had many a job that helped me support the store. So,
Right.
what do
So I've done a lot of administrative type jobs, worked in many different types of offices, every industry you can imagine, from retail to insurance. But lately, I got my CDL, and I just drive nowadays.
Wow, nice. And if you got a commercial driver's license, can you go? One of the things we love to do when we went out traveling, like we would get in the car for the summer and drive to nowhere, we'd be on the main highway. Then we would see business district over here, old route, whatever the old business route is. And we would find on occasion phenomenal thrift shops. Do you get to hunt while you drive, or it's no?
No, because I,
No.
I only drive locally. I'm
Oh,
in Northwest Arkansas near Bentonville, so
ah.
I just kind of stay in this area.
And if you are you in the process? Do you have anything online that is being offered right now for sale? Do you have a site anywhere?
No, me personally, I do not. Yeah, I haven't sold books for a while. Um, I primarily Joachim and I kind of got reacquainted. We talked about the possibility of me purchasing the business, and I was very interested, but financially, I'm not able to do it. It's too big of a commitment for me to take on personally. But I really respect Joachim a great deal. He's been a great mentor and a great friend, and so now he's offered me the opportunity to work with him and try to help him find a buyer.
Well,
Uh,
that's what we're trying to do now. So let's go back to Joachim and tell us more about what pronounce. Yeah, okay, I've noticed this, and I apologize as a host. Pronounce your first name, Joachim. Joachim. Am I saying it the right way?
You're pretty close to the way my German mother intended it. If you want to say it perfectly German, it would be Joachim. But Joachim is pretty good, and at Starbucks, I'm Bill.
Okay, no sprechen Sie Deutsch, habla Spanglish, but Joachim. Okay, I say that out of all due respect. Tips for beginners, anecdotes, or just continue on telling us, and I apologize for a couple of segues and interruptions there. Pretend that right now that you're talking to a potential buyer and you are taking him on a tour of where the inventory that you have is located. What are we going to be looking at? When we buy it, tell us
So
everything that we're getting.
what you're looking at is an established inventory of about 19,000 books. They're located outside of Charleston, South Carolina. They're boxed, they're cataloged, they're inventoried, and that is already a significant value that's in the business setup, because if you're looking to catalog books, which is a core activity in the business. Jeremy has done many of those. If you're looking to catalog a book, of course, there's easier books and there's complicated books where you spend hours trying to find out the various identifiers, if it is a first edition, what differentiates the book. Does it have the famous typo on page 17? All those things, right? But you're looking at, I don't know, between 2 to 5 books per hour. You put your own value at it. You need to pay somebody for that, and you do that with 20,000 books. Well, there is some investment already to be made. Mm-hmm. And during that investment of you sitting in front of a pile of books that you might have acquired at a estate sale or that you would get from somebody else, during that cataloging period, you're not listing the books. They're offline, right? So here, as a starter, you will get catalog books. You know where to find them. You can leave them online. You can keep them online once you have them, and you basically get a business up and running out of the box. Statement number one. Statement number two, what I was about to say before the break, is you need to, if you don't want to just be a book lister on Amazon, eBay, on any of those companies, but if you're building your own presence, you need to attract people. I had started to mention, we did this with content, with blog posts. Those blog posts and the education behind it attract about 10 to 15,000 visitors every month. You that many book businesses attract that population, and 2,000 blog posts, even if you get at those at a low cost, you're paying $30, $50 per blog post. Well, multiply that with 2,000, and here you have a couple of $10,000 to be spent to invest in marketing. You have that right out of the box. There's an infrastructure, there's a CRM system, that emails, that there's all of those things behind the business that you don't have to build up anymore. Let me give another example. A super famous bookstore in New York, The Strand, right? Why is The Strand so valuable? Well, there's the building The Strand is in, and the family owns that building. In a very similar way, additional value beyond just going having the inventory is in the website, is in the email, the 12,000 plus customer and contact emails that come with it, right? You can start emailing, running campaigns out of the box, right? So there's a lot of value there. Current retail value, of course, that's a very flexible number. Are you running a discount? Are you listing them on other sites? But we're looking at a low 7-digit number in terms of value of books, and we're looking to sell it, the whole business, inclusive of the website, inclusive of the books, inclusive of the books that are cataloged, inclusive of the traffic and email momentum that is there. We're looking to sell it for less than a 6-digit amount. So there is an instantaneous value that you can get and a return if you're interested in not just listing the books, but actually running a book business and beginning to roll up your sleeves, reaching out to customers. But that is all a very doable and very common setup. It's a stable operation as opposed to you having to build this up all by yourself.
What you are selling in addition to inventory, to me, as somebody who has seen the buying and selling of stores for many years, is the ultimate clincher for the deal. You can buy books anywhere, folks. You can, it's very easy if you have money to fill up warehouses and rooms and shelves and all that. But what you are being offered here is something that would take you 20 years to establish, as it did for you. So I have a logistics question. We're going to break. We'll be back.